It's interesting, you know, each time's a sort of different challenge. I always feel like it's a fresh album. I feel like it's the kind of first or second time I've ever made an album, but it isn't, it's the 15th. Normally I just feel like it's time to record again, you know, there's no, it's just a feeling you get. You sort of think, I haven't had a record out for a while and time to get going. So I look around for musicians. This time I looked around for someone to work with, because I didn't fancy working on my own. Sometimes I would fancy writing on my own, which I quite enjoy. This time I wanted to work with someone. And I kind of really remembered the way John and I used to write, which was basically across two acoustics guitars. He'd have an acoustic, you sort of play at each other, you know, and you sort of, it's like looking in a mirror almost, because he'll think of a line and you rebound off it, you know. It's a great way to work, really. And I hadn't worked like that for a long time. So I knew Eric Stewart quite well, kind of socially and stuff. So I suggested, how about bringing your acoustic round, you know, we'll have a plonk. And we ended up writing 6 songs for that got on this album together. That same sort of style, which was a good way to work, really. And then the rest of the songs, I sort of just went into the studio because I was making my own new studio, which was quite a big deal because I don't really know much about studios, so I had to rely on other people a lot. And then just to try out this new studio and to feel my way, I made up a couple of tracks on the spot, which is something I'll do more these days because recording's going a bit more that way. I never know, you know, I can never tell like what's overtly commercial, what isn't. I mean, you know, it depends who's buying really, you know, as to what's commercial. I don't like to try and really be very commercial because I think it'd all be a bit Eurovision if every single track was a kind of real snappy, catchy hit. Because, you know, that's your opportunity on an album, is to expand a little bit more. I think the first big influence on writing was Buddy Holly. And it wasn't just because we liked him, because there are a lot of other people we liked. I'm saying we, not the royal we, I mean, it means John and I, because that's when we started together. Buddy was a big influence because of his chords, because we'd only just started learning on guitar, and a lot of his songs were 3-chord songs, A, D, and E. And we knew those 3 chords. And we're working on B7. But, so that was the thing, really. You know, you'd hear a record and you think, hey, you know, we could do that. And it inspired you, you know, I can do that. So a lot of our early songs, like Love Me Do, those kind of songs were like 3-chord songs. So he was a very big influence. Carl Perkins was a big influence, too. Same kind of reason. There weren't too many chords. Elvis was a big influence, but not on the songwriting, more on the singing, as was Little Richard for me. But I think my singing influences are Elvis and Little Richard. I don't know what the pure McCartney songs are, you know. See, the thing about it, when you're doing it, you haven't really got time to analyze. Plus, it's not your job to analyze. Anyway, it's people like yourself, you know, who kind of get time to sort of, well, you know, or DJs or whatever, who get time to listen all the time in those headphones, you know. Twiddling their thumbs, biting pencils down the BBC. That's a good one. I don't like that. And so you actually don't spend much time looking at what is a McCartney song, what isn't. I think a lot of the things I've been criticized for in the past are things I didn't even know I was doing, really, till they told me. See, I'm only really thinking of it for the first time now. But probably that first McCartney album when I was, when the Beatles had broken up, and I was on my own for the first time. And I got the 4-track Studer in my living room. And just like this, kind of just started making up songs and stuff. And it was a very bare album, very, I like it actually, I like it as an album. But I took a few little risks. I didn't realize I was taking risks. I thought, again, I was just making an album, you know, like I still do. But listening to it now, it's very basic kind of album. Something like That Would Be Something I think it's very me, very basic little thing. But maybe I'm Amazed is probably the first real major song on my own. Obviously, like John was a big help because because he was such a big talent. I think we both probably found it a little bit difficult not having that person across the acoustic to sort of try it all out on. In early days, you know, writing something like Saw Her Standing There, it's just one remembrance of mine of John kind of vetoing a line of mine. You know, we used to do it with each other, but just one I remember. She was just 17, never been a beauty queen. He said, "Oh, stop, no, way," you know, and that one gone. And then it changed to "You Know What I Mean." But yeah, that kind of help obviously was very difficult to write without that kind of help. I enjoyed it in a way, because it wasn't that much of a change, because I had written things like Yesterday and Here, There and Everywhere, stuff like that. I had written a lot of stuff on my own, because obviously John wasn't always there. He was sometimes out where he lived, and I'd get the urge to write on my own. So, I mean, you know, I was still friends with the Beatles. I mean, I remember Ringo coming round one night and me sort of playing him some tracks and sort of getting his okay on them, you know, seeing if he liked them at all. But it was the beginning of me sort of stepping out on my own. It wasn't really my choice. You know, I would have preferred to stay with the group, really, but the group had just broken up. It had just come full circle. And there was no saving it, really, because we were in the middle of all those business troubles, and they were just getting so heavy that it had to give, you know. But it was kind of mixed blessing, really, because on the one hand, I missed John's help and his talent. I mean, one example I always give of John's greatness, I think, is I was sitting at the piano doing "It's Getting Better All the Time, better, better," and he's sitting there, "Couldn't get much worse." You know, that's very John, you know. I would have never thought of that. I was doing a very positive, getting better, couldn't get much worse. You know, which I thought was great for the song. It just balanced it up. But that kind of thing I missed a lot. I think I was average intelligence, not bad. I went in for a few exams that other kids didn't go in for. If you passed them, you got free books and stuff, you know, there were a few exams like that. So I must have been a little bit above average, but I couldn't concentrate. On all my reports, it was, would do well if he could concentrate. And that was what they thought about me, you know, is that if they could channel it, it'd be all right. But we were into sort of rock and roll and stuff, you know, so that we couldn't handle all that algebra stuff at the same time. How I got my first guitar was I got a present off my dad, a birthday present, which was a trumpet, because he'd been a trumpeter. And just before the guitar craze, everyone was actually into trumpets. The trumpet was the big, you know, man with a golden arm, Look Back in Anger, Eddie Calvert, all that. I got his autograph. Anyway, so my dad gave me this trumpet, and I learned the Saints on it and a couple of things like that. But suddenly worked out like I wasn't going to be able to sing with a trumpet in my mouth. I went and swapped that for a guitar, and it was a right-handed guitar. I've still got the guitar. It's in Broad Street, actually, you know, do a busking thing. But the problem was right-handed. I didn't realize that you could turn a guitar over and be left-handed. So I was a left-handed person with this right-handed guitar, and I couldn't get on with it till I suddenly thought, change the strings around. I think I got it off, who was the fellow? Slim Whitman. He was a left-handed. Well, we had a friend in common. He used to live in a place called Woolton in Liverpool, slightly posh area. And we had this friend called Ivan, who I used to go to school with. Ivan was kind of in the little groups we had formed then, and he said, come up to Woolton, there's a Woolton Fete. He said, come up, there's this group playing. So I came, I was about 14 then. Had the hair done, the jacket, you know. And I went to, it was Saturday afternoon, and John was on stage with what was then the Quarrymen. It was a group called the Quarrymen after his school's Quarry Bank. And I saw them, you know, I thought, well, they're quite a good group. Mainly John was the impressive one. He was the lead singer up there, you know. And he'd taken a song and he didn't know the words, but he was making them up, you know, which was like clever. It was Come Go With Me by the Del Vikings. And he hadn't got the record yet, but he knew no one else would know, so it was all down to the penitentiary. You know, put kind of bluesy words in. So I thought, you know, and we got together after the show. Ivan took us round backstage, and I sang a couple of like Little Richard songs and stuff, Eddie Cochran songs that I knew. And I knew all the words, so definitely I was very impressive right there. The clothes were the big problem. Because, you know, parents in those days, the same as parents any time, they think that if you dress like a fashion, they think you've gone that way. You know, if you dress punk, they think you're going to hit someone. And my dad thought, you know, because I was dressing a bit Ted and greasing the hair back with the Vaseline and that, he thought I was going, you know, a bit naughty. So he wouldn't let me wear the drain-pipe trousers we used to wear, the tight jeans. So I used to have to take them with me in a bag and change on the bus. He was sort of leaning over me. He was like a couple of years older than me. He was 1.5 years older than me. So I was a bit kind of, you know, innocent then. I was 14. I hadn't seen a lot of life. And, well, you know, not the kind of life we're talking about. And he was into drinking a bit, you know, so he had a couple of beers, you know, being real. And he was leaning over. I remember thinking, oh, you know, gosh, he's all a bit smelly. And I think someone bought it for me, actually. Went in, go in, get us a bottle. They go, we used to drink Black Velvet and get sick a lot.